Howdy guys, welcome back. Another Tall Talk episode. Jeez, it's been a while since we did one of these. All the way back in February of this year, just before I ran that Supremacy 2 tournament. It just takes me too long to get videos out these days. I've got too much else going on. I've often been asked to up the rate of video production for this channel, and I'd really like to. It's just that a number of factors conspire to make things a very slow process around here. I've got a job, first and foremost. I work as an electrician here in Perth, so 7 to 4 weekdays is me at work. Can't do this full time, unfortunately. That'd be nice to. But I do get an RDO, roster day off, every second Friday. It's a pretty amazing deal, really. Only doing a 9-day fortnight really helps with this channel. I mean, I wouldn't have got anywhere near as far as I've got to this point if I didn't have that 3-day weekend every second weekend, so it's hard to complain. But yeah, I work 2 jobs really if you factor in this YouTube channel, so that does slow me down. As well as that, the videos I like to make are not often easy to do. I really like to try new things and learn new features in the programs I'm using, and with that comes a lot of time wasted on just little nitty-bitty things that I kind of get locked into just because I enjoy doing them. Quick Blitz was an attempt to try and rectify this, try and just get gameplay out there with minimal fuss, and it kind of worked. It turned into a bit of a strategy breakdown at one point. I tried to just go to just straight gameplay with no commentary. Still trying to do that. It's kind of worked. It kind of fits in with the channel. But the big tank reviews and the preview videos are where it's really at. It's kind of the key points on this channel, and they do take a lot of time to do. Comparable, I think an analogy can be drawn to the way the Germans made their tanks in World War II. If you compare my channel to Bushka's killing at the moment. He is taking some time off work and doing full-time video production, and it's really paying off for him, it would seem. But his videos, I think, not trying to cast him in a negative light here, but I think he makes videos in the same way that the Russians made tanks in World War II. Just simple, to the point, get the job done, and pumping them out in great numbers, and that really does pay off. Whereas I kind of make German World War II vehicles overly complex, very nicely done, I'd like to think anyway, but very hard to make, and it just cannot keep up with the same rate of production as, say, other guys who are out there doing similar Blitz videos. But I like to make videos that I would like to watch myself, and so this is just the theme of the channel and what we have to work with here. So I've tried to pick things up recently. I've brought Quick Blitz back, and I'm trying to streamline my production, maybe cut out some stuff that isn't necessary, and we'll just see how we go for this remainder of the year. It's winter now here in Perth, so it's not the best time to be outdoors, so I've got a bit more time to spend doing these videos. Speaking of Bushka, he's just started his own website, wotblitz.asia. Very comprehensive site dedicated to his own channel, obviously his own videos, and also Blitz news and gossip, and lots of tips and tricks there, so definitely go check that out if you're looking for more Blitz content. So what's going on in game at the moment? Well, we're in patch 2.9 now. There's been some big changes recently. Obviously the Pref matchmaker has gone worldwide. It's not just an NA thing now. I was asked what my thoughts were on that, and I don't have strong feelings for the most part. I think you're going to see a lot less variety in gameplay. It's possibly a negative. Pimp said he was quite bored with it to a degree, but I don't mind. I definitely found the games where you were bottom of the lineup to be the most stressful part of the game, and obviously that's why they made this change in the first place. People did a lot of complaining about being bottom tier and getting their asses kicked, and I can relate. So it's nice not to have that kind of disadvantage, but at the same time you don't get the opposite of that as well. Obviously you don't get to be the top dog 2 tiers above half your team. So what's this going to mean for people's stats, I think is interesting. What are all the stat padders going to do? Are they going to have to restart their accounts? What does this mean? Are people's statistics going to increase? Are they going to see a higher win rate now that they don't have to worry about being the bottom tier? Or will that be completely balanced by the fact that they are no longer the top tier above 2 tiers worth of tank spread? I don't know how this will affect stats. I guess Wargaming would know. They've got access to all the figures, but I'm not a statistician and I don't know what this will do to people's overall performances. I do worry though, and I'll get into this a bit deeper later on if I've got the time, I do worry about machines like the IS-6, even the Type 59, things that were popular because of their pref matchmaker, and not just because they were strong premium machines. People have paid money for these. I paid money for, well, I got given the Type 59 by Wargaming, but I paid money for the IS-6, and I can't see that much point in playing it. I certainly wouldn't recommend buying it now. For someone who's looking for a premium vehicle that would print money. And it does do that very well still, obviously, but it's now the worst out of 3 possible IS variants at tier 6. And that brings me to a big issue I've got at the moment, and a big rant I've got. And that is in the IS-3 Defender. What the shit is this thing doing in the game? I have so many issues with this machine. For starters, do we really need another IS-3 variant at tier 8? Now we've got the IS-3 Defender, the IS-6 Premium, the IS-3 regular tier 8 heavy tank of the Soviet line. There's also an IS-6 Fearless, which I guess doesn't really count because you don't see it much in game. I think Pink Daddy is the only guy I know who owns one. And there was rumours of a T10. I think that's an IS-8 variant at tier 8. I'm not too sure what happened with that. I saw a few pictures of it. I don't know if it was tier 9 or tier 8, but it was possibly tier 8. So that could be up to 5 IS-3 variants at tier 8, and that is just ridiculous. Whose short-sighted decision making was it to add the Defender into the game? Because the IS-3 is already, you could argue, the strongest tier 8 heavy tank. The IS-6 was very popular in that it was also a strong vehicle. It had pref matchmaker, and that was kind of limited by the fact that its penetration for AP rounds and APCR rounds were so poor as a kind of its balancing factor. So it was worse than the IS-3, but it had that pref matchmaker that made it very popular. The Defender, it just boggles the mind that they put this in the game. For a number of reasons. A, you've got now too many IS-3s, and your tier 8 games are now bogged down with these things. They are everywhere. They've made it an autoloader. They've trialled a high tier autoloader without giving themselves the option to rebalance it if they put it in too strong. Because people have paid money for this thing. It's a premium tank. Yes, you could unlock it by not paying any gold if you gave your life away for 2 weeks to do nothing else besides play Blitz. But let's be honest, I guarantee most people paid some money for this machine, which means they can't now rebalance it if they've released it too strong. And I am of the opinion that it is too strong. I think it's the best of the tier 8 IS variants. You rarely catch these things on a reload, which is the key weakness to an autoloader. They have very good penetration, heat rounds as their premium round as well. Extra gun depression. Why does it get extra gun depression? It doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. And it's an IS-3, it's got good armor, it's a trollish tank, and now it doesn't need to see tier 10s at all. I don't know why they put it in the game. Surely there's no lack of other vehicles they could put in the game as the prize for a competition like the ones they run. Competition which I'm not a fan of anyway. Those kind of grind out the required points or just pay us the money shortcut competitions that do nothing for the game, I think. My biggest issue though comes down to the fact that when I first got into World of Tanks back in, it would have been 2010, it wasn't just the addictive gameplay and the immersive, the tech tree that kind of locked you in. It was such a hard grind, but kind of rewarding at the same time. It was all the effort they put into developing and researching this historical tech tree. Yes, the gameplay itself isn't accurate, it's not a simulator, but so much effort has been put into creating a tech tree that is based on what was actually out there. Vehicles that actually existed and were either made or prototyped or at least conceived. I mean, yes, a lot of allowances have been made for the Japanese heavy line, even the Japanese medium line. I think some of the mid to high tiers were kind of only prototypes, and they had to skip forward to the 50s and 60s to get the STB1 to release those kind of more modern vehicles into the game. But the issue I've got is that it's the historical tech tree that kind of defines the rules of the game and what you should expect to see in a vehicle's performance. The IS-3 Defender, what started with the Tankenstein, which is kind of a conglomeration of various actual tank bits into one machine, has now gone full circle, and now we've got a machine here that is just made up. It's based on the IS-3, obviously. It's got the same hull, but it's got an autoloader. It's the only auto-loading IS-3 variant in any game in World of Tanks on any platform. But even though it's an autoloader and you would expect it to have extra hardware, extra equipment to facilitate that autoloading in the turret, it somehow gets an extra 2 degrees, I think it is, of gun depression. And that is a worry, because now Blitz's development team have just gone to the point where we're just making stuff up completely, and it's not based on any rules whatsoever. Why does it get extra gun depression when it's got that mechanism in the turret that should hamper the gun depression? It's hard for me to articulate exactly what my issue is here, but with the Defender, they've now gone to the point where we can expect from now on just to have completely made up shit in the game. And I don't like that at all. I think it should be an arcadey game based on the historical tech tree, because that's how it started. And I think they're now trying to bridge between what the game originally was and this kind of fantasy thing that's tailored towards people who aren't me. I guess this is a selfish perspective, but the game, I don't think, is being developed now for my demographic, which is kind of war nerds who liked the game for the reason that they were seeing machines that they'd read about as a kid or were into now, and it's just fun to take them out and trial them against other people and play with them. But now it's become this like kind of Japanese manga. We're going to make up stuff and throw it into the game, and it's got racing stripes, and it's got, flames coming out the back, and I now feel like I'm not a guy playing a game tailored towards war nerds and enthusiasts of that kind of nature. I now feel like I'm an adult playing a game that is made for kids, and that is kind of lame. It kind of takes a lot of the magic out of it. I don't see why they need to be making up tanks as well. Is there a shortage of vehicles out there that they could put in the game? Do they need to differentiate themselves from the PC version of the game by making stuff up? Can't they just go more recent vehicles, 50s, 60s, 70s vehicles? I know that they've always said, the development team for World of Tanks PC has always said that they wouldn't go into the future because modern tanks had smoothbore guns and advanced tracking systems that were meant they could drive and fire on the move with accuracy. Modern armor, composite armor, explosive reactive armor, that kind of things, and it wouldn't translate well to the game they were trying to build. But I can take that kind of creative license. I don't mind playing more recent tanks the same way that World War II tanks are played in the game. You have to stop to fire accurately. I wouldn't mind if they did that with more modern tanks, but I don't like this mash of made up shit and historical stuff. I don't think it works. I think it's muddying up the game and turning it into a bit of a mess, to be honest. What do you think? I'm sure your opinions differ to mine. Opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one. So what do you think about this situation? I'm going to put up some polls. Do you A, like the new additions to the game? Do you like these made up tanks? Yes or no? And if no, would you instead prefer to see more modern vehicles but historical vehicles? Or would you like to see just a continuation of the design brief as it is? Looking for vehicles that were at least prototyped of this World War I, post-World War I to just after World War II time bracket. Tell me what you think. I'd be interested to hear the results, and I will post them off to Ozan, who is kind of our boss here as community contributors on the Asia server. Okay, so rant done. I hope that made sense, and thanks for sticking with me on that one. What else has been going on in the game lately? Well, the last patch brought out a change to the provisions and consumable systems. Provisions were added, and now you've got more options, more upgrades and extras you can stock on your vehicle and take into battle. And there was a bit of an uproar about this. I think people expected that they could still max out all slots and expect to make a profit. And I can see why people would kind of just assume that, but I don't think it's right to assume that. I think you shouldn't be able to add everything and still make a profit. I think it's good that people should be required to think a bit more about what they're putting on their vehicles. I don't think that people who are playing a standard account will suffer that much with this change. I think that the bonuses you get from the extras you can put on are slight enough that premium players won't get much of an advantage. I think that, 2% or 5% boost to crew performance and engine performance, that kind of thing, isn't enough that it'll certainly help, and you certainly see a difference in the averages over a long period of time, but I don't think it's that big an issue. And I do like the fact that they've changed adrenaline and the engine boost. I think a shorter adrenaline time period, what is it now, 15 seconds I think, with a 90-second downtime. I think that's enough that, yes, you'll get a couple of quick shots away, but it's not that sustained boost that's enough to take down your enemy from full health to nothing, giving you that big advantage. So I think overall it's a good change, and I'm pretty on board with it. What else has been going on this year? Well, the ping in Australia has been fucking atrocious all year, and it doesn't look like we're going to get back to what it was last year, which is very annoying. It was a big reason why I wasn't playing much at the first half of this year. Just trying to adjust to that 200 milliseconds was just annoying and frustrating, and I wasn't enjoying it. I'm still not, to a degree. I mean, it's still 200 milliseconds, and it's still painful, but I think I've adjusted now, and I've got used to the Mac OS controls to a degree, and I've just kind of given up on trying to be that guy who's got the super high win rate and the amazing, kill to death and damage ratio and that kind of stuff. I'm not focused on my stats anymore. I'm just playing occasionally for my ×2s, enough to get some replays in, and that's pretty much all I'm worried about. I do get a lot of people saying, "Oh, Ruckus, you're always bitching about your ping. 200 milliseconds is as good as it ever gets in the part of the world I'm playing at." And I can relate, but I don't want you to think that I am some kind of nothing but city slicker used to sub 100 millisecond ping. Come on, I have roughed it with the best of yous. Let me tell you a story about when I first started playing World of Tanks. It was on PC, obviously, but I was playing on my MacBook Pro. It was a 2010 MacBook Pro, which was just good enough to run World of Tanks back in those days. World of Tanks, when it first came out, didn't look much better than Blitz does now, to be honest. And I was playing on the only server available to me at the time, which was the North American server. There was no Southeast Asia server at that point in time. And to boot, I was working FIFO work for a gold mining company, Newcrest Gold, which is Australia's biggest gold producer here in WA. They're based mostly. FIFO, for those of you who don't live in Australia or in WA, is fly in, fly out, which basically means the company you work for will fly you from your hometown, well, at least from Perth, the capital of Western Australia, out to the mine site where you live for a week or 2 weeks or 4 weeks, depending on what your roster is, before they fly you back to your city again to spend some R&R. And so that's what I was doing. I was working an 8 and 6 roster, flying out from Perth to Telfer, the mine site was called, which is this, used to be a town, but now it's nothing but a gold mining site where you have accommodation and a huge mining pit and underground mine system. I was working out there as a process tech, working on the fixed plant that crushed up all the ore and refined it to extract the gold. Interesting job, terrible conditions. Telfer's right on the edge of the Gibson Desert, I think it is. It's hot as balls out there. It's like it's either hot or hot with flies is the only two weather types you get at Telfer. You often see mornings, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, it's at 40 degrees, crazy temperatures out there. So a very unpleasant place to live and work, but interesting work nonetheless. And this is where I was playing World of Tanks for a while, using I think I was on an iPhone 4 at the time, hotspotting my laptop to the iPhone 4 using a 3G signal, which was, I think, what was all we got out there to play, which would be bad enough if we were playing on Southeast Asia server, but remember this was playing on the North American server, and so I was getting 500 millisecond ping at the best of times. So don't tell me not to bitch about ping when 200 milliseconds is what I'm getting here. 500 is what I played on for a while, and yeah, I sucked. My account at the time was barely, well, I wasn't too bad. I mean, I was playing, I think the best I got for that account was 53% win rate. But it wasn't until I made the swap to Southeast Asia, had to start a new account when I made that swap, that I really learned the tactics and started playing with a much better ping, probably about 150 by the time I made the swap to there. So that's when things really started to take a turn for me, and my play really started to ramp up. So I'm not saying that you can't play well on 200 milliseconds worth of ping, but I'm saying that you can't play at the stats I was playing at last year on that. You do need a better connection. And I've just kind of accepted the fact that we're not going to get back there in the foreseeable future, and that I shouldn't expect my stats and my quality of play to be as good as what it was last year. And I think that better wrap up this episode for the day. We're looking at 20 odd minutes now, I think. Before I go, I just want to send a big thank you out to the guys who've sent already some replays to my Ruckus.com Gmail account. You'll notice I've put a few of these up recently, and the gameplay's been quite good, although the quality of the videos obviously is not going to be as good as my setup, which is pretty much custom made to record Blitz gameplay at the best quality possible. So I've seen some that have come close that are using similar setups to mine, but in these early days of user submitted replays, there is going to be a lot of variation in the quality of the video, but it is a good sign of things to come, and it's been really positive to see the kind of response I've got to the call out to get some user sub replays in. So keep them coming, guys. It's really helping me out. It's taking a lot of the pressure off me doing 100% of this channel to myself, to being able just to peruse through people's gameplay and putting stuff up that is made by other people besides myself. So thank you once again, and thank you guys for making it through this sometimes incoherent rambling in the latest Tall Talk video. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Peace.